Hey everybody, Dr. Sanderson here. Welcome to Unit 13. So we're definitely getting down to the tail end of the course. And in this unit, we are going to continue looking at kind of the ways in which social media internally impacts the organization. And we're going to do that by looking at how organizations are using social media to screen job applicants as well as to monitor current employees, which is something that I would say most organizations do now. In the early days of social media, go back to 2007, 2008, 2009. Not a lot of them were doing that, but we clearly are seeing a lot of organizations doing that now. In fact, I get asked by students a good deal about social media, and I just tell them you better expect that it's going to be looked at. So and keep in mind that's not just employers, internship programs and graduate schools are doing it as well. So it's something that is happening in many different contexts, not just for employers. So with that said, it's a very polarizing issue. It's something that people feel very strongly about, either for or against. If we take the employer side of things, why are they doing it? Why would they look at someone's social media? Well, the argument is it helps them reduce risk. So if there's certain things they don't like in their organization, or certain things that they, maybe they don't, maybe they just had a sexual harassment case, and so they're very, cautious about anything that could be construed as sexual harassment. So if they see someone's, Twitter feed with a bunch of sexualized content, that might be a red flag. Now, on the flip side of that, there are people who are going to say, well, that's not an indicator that the person's going to do that at work. So, one of the criticisms of this practice is that, we all behave differently at work than we do at home or when we're not at work. So, there are people who say looking at social media doesn't give you any insight into what kind of employee they will be because, people act differently in each of those places. So, something I think that's something to kind of be aware of as well. Also, it can invite discrimination. So, some of you probably know there's things you cannot ask in an interview. Like a person's political party or their religion or their sexual orientation and those sorts of things. So, but you can find that out on social media. So, there are people who feel like it invites discrimination because employers can, filter people out if they belong to certain groups that the employer or really the hiring manager, doesn't approve of. So, it's something that employers, I think, have gotten a little less rigid about in terms of like what kind of shocks them. But something that's there's still it's still a very prominent practice, and something to be aware of for those of you who are on the job market or graduating or applying for jobs, that you can pretty much expect your social media to be searched. Now, that's before the job. Now, once we get on the job, there's a lot of employers who are monitoring social media as well, and they do that, to reduce risk, to perhaps eliminate or prevent potential PR problems. So, as we've talked about in the last unit, things employees post on social media can reflect back on the organization. So the organization might be watching what they do to just make sure that there's not going to be any PR issues. But social media is something that a lot of employees have been disciplined for and lost their job over. So if you do a Google search for employees fired for Facebook, employees fired for Snapchat, employees fired for Twitter, you're going to get a lot of results and look at a lot of different cases of people that lost their jobs for stuff they posted on social media. Now, there are protections for some employees. So, as you'll look at in the lecture and the readings, unionized employees tend to have more protection than non-unionized employees. And there's also some differences between, is your social media account public or private? So in the discussion forum, actually, you're going to kind of weigh in on those things and look at, does it make a difference if a person's account is private or public? Should the employer look at it? So I'm really looking forward to kind of hear what you all think about that, because as I said, it's a very, this topic is very polarizing. I think there's good arguments on both sides, but keep in mind it's something that's very prominent in discussions. So like if you want to work in human resources, this is something that's probably going to be a big, part of your job in terms of whether you're the one actually doing it or you're deciding whether it should be done and those sorts of things. If you're interested in law or legal issues, social media law is a huge area right now. And keep in mind as well that social media law is often kind of slower to keep up with the way things people are doing. So, that's kind of an issue as well, that the law doesn't kind of keep pace with, what employers are doing. So, um, again, a lot of really interesting ways to go here and things to look at in this unit. So I'm excited to hear what you have to say in the discussion forum, where you're going to basically be talking about, your feelings on whether employers should use social media to screen applicants or to use it in the hiring process. So again, your initial post will be due by Thursday, and your 2 response posts will be due on Sunday. And I'll talk to you soon. Thanks.